Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on The Flash. Today we're going to be talking about an article that came out where Andy Muschietti, the director of the Flash movie, has come out and said a few words about the cameos in the film and what could have potentially happened. I definitely think it's of interest, so stick around throughout this entire video and leave a like and a comment if you enjoy it. Also subscribe and turn on notifications if you're new around here so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Okay guys, so this article is coming from Games Radar. I'm gonna leave it in the description below so you can go check it out. Just click on the link and read it after you're done with this video. We're gonna be reading through a specific section called Multiverses Collide, and this is an interview with Andy Muschietti and his sister Barbara. Also, I should mention that I will have a Flash movie post-credit scene and ending explainer video out in the next couple of days. Is going to be combined with a spoiler review as well, so be on the lookout for that. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the article goes like this: if you're wondering why we're dealing with two Batman, a Supergirl rather than a Superman, and a double dose of Barry Allen, the answer is simple. In the multiverse, anything is possible. Andy Muschietti says that was total freedom when asked by Games Radar if there were any rules about playing in the multiversal sandbox. They said, we brought in this certain cameo, which is redacted in the article, and they said that there were really no rules. Andy adds, as long as they were DC characters, everything was allowed, and I made a list of superheroes that I love, that I would love to see, and it was a long list, and then for some time matters for pacing we had to shortlist that a little bit. The movie is the result of that shortlist, and I'm pretty thrilled with the superheroes we gather. Let's break this down. So obviously there is a bit more that we have to go through, we'll get to that in a second, but that's a slightly different part of this multiversal section of the article. So Andy Muschietti has confirmed here that they had total freedom about the cameos that they wanted to bring into the film. Obviously this is a multiverse film, so it's important that we see different worlds, different timelines, different people, maybe different versions of the same characters. And so apparently as long as they were DC characters, everything was allowed, because, you know, DC have full leeway when it comes to choosing who is in the film. And so he made a list of superheroes that he loved and that he would like to see, and the list was long, but then he had to cut it down because of time pacing matters, which is totally understandable. Like, I understand that you're not going to be able to fit in, you know, so many cameos. You can fit in a certain amount. Obviously the film's been out for 2 days now, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it. If you don't want any spoilers, please be sure to skip forward the video a little bit and we'll get rid of the spoilers in just a second. But for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to delve into spoilers. So this is your spoiler warning. You've been warned. We're going to talk about the cameos right now. So I'm not going to reveal every cameo that happened just in case anyone wants to listen. But I can confirm Grant Gustin's not in the film. And this is the thing that I wanted to talk about, because he is saying that he could choose any DC characters. He had a list, and I'm pretty sure Grant Gustin's Flash was on that long list. But he wasn't one of those people on the short list, and instead they had not only not a real Flash, but they had the Teddy Sears version of Jay Garrick in the film. And so I don't really see why Andy Muschietti would want Teddy Sears' Flash instead of Grant Gustin's Flash, when Teddy Sears' Flash wasn't even a real Flash. He's Zoom, he's a villain. He was never actual Jay Garrick. Like, if you want to actually include Jay Garrick, why don't you include John Wesley Shipp? That would actually make a lot more sense. So it just really confuses me why they went for Teddy Sears. Like, that is an actual big question that I have for Andy Muschietti himself, because if he had this long list, why did he go for Teddy Sears' fake Jay Garrick? And also, not to mention, they didn't need any of these actors to show up. Obviously, a lot of them have passed away, including Christopher Reeve, of course. But even for those actors that are around and are probably available, like Teddy Sears, if they wanted to actually film anything, or Grant Gustin, or anyone else, they actually fully CGI'd all the cameos. None of the cameos were real. Like, the actors didn't show up on set or something like that, so he had full reign. Like, you could literally put some footage or just CGI version of Grant Gustin on instead of Teddy Sears. So I just don't understand this whole thing where he's saying that he's allowed to bring in any DC character, and this is a Flash film. Surely you should be focusing on the Flash characters. That's the way that I would go about it if I was the director of the Flash film. And I just don't understand the Teddy Sears thing. Like, yeah, I'm a fan of him and I'm a fan of his Zoom, but his Jay Garrick's not a real Flash. He's the villain. And why are we seeing him? Like, why are we not seeing Grant? It makes no sense to me. If any of you guys can explain it, or think you know the reason why Andy Muschietti and DC went for Teddy Sears instead of Grant Gustin or John Wesley Shipp, please let me know down in the comments down below. But yeah, so he had total freedom and he chose who he chose. There was some cool cameos, but overall I think the cameos are disappointing, and quite honestly it's a shame that they're all CGI because it all feels fake, it feels forced, and it doesn't feel realistic in the way that, you know, when we saw Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up in Spider-Man No Way Home, it blew everyone's mind. But in the case of The Flash, I don't think it's going to blow everyone's mind. Yeah, it's going to be cool for a minute, but then you're going to be like, oh, these are all CGI characters, like they aren't the real people, so this is just them creating this kind of alternate fantasy. And I get it that it's the multiverse and these Earths could technically exist, but yeah, it's just like a really weird thing that they went with this. So that's just my personal opinion. Seeing him comment on the fact that he had free reign on who he wanted to include, I get that he wants to include Christopher Reeve, he wants to include all of those popular DC characters from the past, but why not include the most popular Flash actor and character of all time, that being, of course, Grant Gustin's Flash. He's played the Flash for nearly 10 years at this point, so yeah, it's just a big shame that he never actually showed up in the film. Let's move on. This is spoiler free now. We're going to be talking about the next part of this article. And so he says, the multiversal shenanigans mean Michael Shannon's formidable General Zod is back, once again aiming to terraform Earth into a new Krypton. The battle between Zod and Superman played out in Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, which has been remixed and incorporated into The Flash. Andy Muschietti confirmed that he talked to Zack, but it wasn't technical, narrative or anything. I just wanted to reach out and say, hey, because we haven't met before, and I just wanted to tell him that we would be respectful to the stuff that he did before and to the cast he put together. Man of Steel obviously is foundational to this movie because the big threat of Zod coming from Earth is a big twist in the story, and it's something that most DC fans know very well, and that's one of the great things that can form the narrative of this movie. Zod isn't the only familiar face from the Snyderverse to make an appearance either. Affleck's Batman also features in what is thought to be the send-off for the character, so that might be the last time that we see Ben Affleck's Batman. But let's circle back and talk about Zod. So obviously Zod was kind of the main villain in this film. It's interesting the way that they go back and kind of retool Man of Steel. I like how they introduced Supergirl in the role that Superman played before, and you know, it's good to hear that, you know, he called him. It's kind of strange that Zack Snyder wasn't consulted on the way that they actually wanted to incorporate this Man of Steel story into the film, but I guess there's no like legal duty to actually do that because DC owns Man of Steel and they own this film, so they have free reign in terms of going back and retreading on anything that they want to. But yeah, it definitely gave Man of Steel kind of a new life. Now going back seeing Man of Steel, you'll remember what you've seen in the Flash film and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is supposed to happen at this time, and you know, it changed because of Flashpoint and it was all different. So it's interesting to see how different it would have been without Superman and how important Superman was to stopping Zod. And in the case of Michael Shannon, he is back. He is quite heavily CGI'd. Like, a lot of this film is heavy on CGI. It doesn't look very good in terms of comparing it to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Man of Steel looks much better visually, and you know, the fights with Zod were decent, but again, very heavy on CGI. And even Michael Shannon said that it wasn't super enjoyable coming back, and I presume that's because he had to do a lot of green screen work and he had to, you know, basically do a lot of stuff that he's done before, but in a different way, obviously not in such a realistic way that I think actors like to play. So for him, it was like playing an action figure, I feel like he said in an interview recently. So as you guys can tell, I feel like I have a mixed relationship. Like, I really enjoyed this film and I've seen it 3 times already, and you guys know I'm a massive Flash fan. but I think visual wise, you know, there is a definite lack of flair and there's too much reliance on CGI. And I think, you know, the return of some of these characters and the cameos just doesn't hit as well as it would have hit if it seemed more realistic, like they actually properly filmed everything and all of this wasn't on a green screen. And I know, and I'm sure you guys know, they actually did a lot of this out in public. Like, they did a lot of public filming, but the thing is, they CGI'd over all of it. Like, I was there for one scene when they were filming in London, and they've completely retooled it, and they've CGI'd like the whole background. I think they even CGI'd Ezra on in like a plate at one point. Also, they replaced one character in this specific scene in London. And so yeah, I know from firsthand what, you know, the scene was supposed to look like and how it's been manipulated, and it's just like probably one of the heaviest CGI films that DC has ever done, and I don't honestly think it's better for it. I think it's actually worse for it personally. But let's talk about one last thing, and that is that the new Batman film in the DCEU, Brave and the Bold, lands the Flash director Andy Muschietti. So this was announced yesterday from Variety. I'll leave the link in the description below to it. Andy Muschietti is officially suiting up to direct a new Batman film. Variety can exclusively report. The film is to be one of the several new DC Studios titles mapped out by leaders James Gunn and Peter Safran earlier this year. Muschietti is returning to DC with this. Obviously, he directed The Flash, which was his first DC film, and so now we're going to see him adapting the Grant Morrison comic book, Batman the Brave and the Bold. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to what Andy Muschietti can do with Batman. Like, I wouldn't necessarily think that he is the right choice straight away, but I look forward to what he can do. Obviously, he's done It, he's done Mama, he's done The Flash now. I feel like if he's going to make another DC film, he's got to make it different. I feel like Batman cannot be the same tone as The Flash. Obviously, that is a lot down to the screenplay. He didn't write the screenplay for The Flash, so that's definitely a factor. But with Batman, he's going to have to go a lot darker, and he's going to have to dig into his kind of horror roots. And I think we could get a really good film. It's going to have Batman and Robin in the film, and I really hope they cast well, and I hope that the screenplay is really good, because honestly, making a Batman film right now is going to be very challenging when you're pairing up alongside Matt Reeves' Batman films and the Penguin TV show with Robert Pattinson and all of these amazing actors. They did such a good job with the Batman that it's going to be really hard to follow on from that. So I think Andy Muschietti is really going to have to think very hard about the next type of DC film he's going to be doing, because it's going to have to be very different from The Flash, and it's going to have to be way more serious. So I'm definitely interested to see what he comes up with. But that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Let me know down below, what do you think of Andy Muschietti directing the DCU Batman film, The Brave and the Bold? And also, what do you think about the interview we broke down earlier and the fact that he had free reign but didn't choose to include Grant Gustin? Also, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. We are uploading daily right now, so go check out the channel and watch any of my recent videos, because we have a bunch of videos up on the channel that will definitely be of interest to a lot of you guys. But for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.